This is a painting I started quite some time ago using the watercolour inks, and I want to show you a little bit on how to get these lovely soft flowing watercolour effects, especially if you've been struggling. The symbol itself is actually surrounded by a very fine line of masking fluid, so it's actually protected a little bit from what's going on. So I'm just going to use a selection of blues, turquoises and a little bit of yellow in this painting, and also some actual paint itself from a tube. You need plenty of water, so I've got a couple of water sprays. One's a quite large one and this is more of a pen-sized one, and this is how you get this beautiful soft effect. So I'm just starting off by wetting with clean water and a flat brush just around the edges. Remember, it's protected a little bit by the masking fluid, so I'm not too worried about where I put the water, but you need to put plenty of water on. This is the whole technique of getting that soft flow. It took me a long time to realise how to do this. I watched a lot of very good artists do it, but I struggled to grasp it. So hopefully this will give you some idea. So dropping the ink in is okay, but now we start to move it about. We still need to apply lots more water. Remember that the watercolour does tend to dry a little bit paler than when it's actually wet, so you can add a lot of colour in. The inks do contain more pigment, which is great, so you can add a little bit more and sort of maintain that. Obviously, as we mix in the yellow with the turquoise, it's going to create a beautiful green colour. And again, it's about softening those colours down. Now I'm adding in a dark green traditional watercolour paint from a tube, and that's into the wet. It's all wet in wet at this point. You can build your layers so much easier when all the water is there. You can move it about so much better. Grab the water and then pull the inks and the paints. This is about getting that water going, and it takes a little bit of confidence to appreciate that you can actually move it and manipulate it without too much sort of bother. And again, dropping in, I want a little bit dark edge around that part of the symbol. So I'm applying it above and also below, because I can then soften it out to what I want. So I'm pulling that out, add that little bit in, and we can see it's already starting to spread. Now I'm adding a little bit more blue ink, and then it's the tilt into the water, move that around. I'm going to add a little bit of the dark indigo blue in here, one of my favourites, as you probably know from other work. And then it's a spritz, and you can see how it's beginning to move about. It's a beautiful fluid effect. That's what we're looking for. So it doesn't matter if the ink goes onto the symbol, I'm not too bothered. We can see how it flows, and again, grab that with clean water and pull it out. It's all about using the water to make those soft edges. It's okay, we can have hard edges if we want to, but for this technique I want to just show you how to get those lovely soft, flowing, literally like water effects. Dropping the colour in, moving it about, again pulling, catch it with the edge of the brush and pull it outwards. The more water you add towards the edge, the softer the effect is going to be. So you can really afford to be quite wet. As long as your paper is fastened down firmly and it's of a reasonable weight, you won't have any great effects. I do recommend using a slightly heavier watercolour paper than £140 for this. 140 will cockle. It will start to ripple, so you need something a little bit heavier. And you can keep on building, adding the colour, adding the depth, and then adding the water to move that about. As you can see, it's creating some really beautiful finishes now. Don't be afraid to take watercolour out. Keep a tissue handy, and if it's looking like it's going to settle into a hard edge, you can lift it. You can take that out. Keep pulling, keep moving. Keep wetting. Do make sure you get these pens the right way around. I have squirted it into my face before now. Adding in a little bit more of the yellow. Look how it looks like underwater corals and watercolour weeds and things. It's beautiful. And you can see now what the effects are that we've got, dabbing out a little bit. Now I want to add a little bit more colour around these two dots here. They've still got their masking fluid around them, so I'm going to add a little bit more colour in because they don't show up quite as well as I would like. So I'm just going in with some nice clean water to start with, just wetting around that area. Not too worried about where I put in the water because, like I say, they're protected. And a nice blob of the beautiful turquoise ink and a little bit of the yellow, and then we can watch them mix together and get some beautiful colours going on here, and that will continue the theme from around the other side of the symbol. So again, just going in with a nice wet flat brush and pulling that colour out, taking all that moisture out to the edge of the paper. You can add as much water as you like, just keep on pulling it to where you want it. Beauty of a flat brush is it gets quite nicely into narrow little spaces around places like these. So instead of a round brush, it might be worth considering a flat brush. And again, it can pull the colour out really nicely. So I'm just going to keep on doing as we have done with the other side, taking that out, using the pen spray to take the moisture out to the edge, and then use the brush to just bring it to where you want to. And you can already see it's lovely and soft. You can get rid of excess water, it's not a problem. If you add more water in now, that will just soften that edge right away, and it just creates that beautiful blending. I'm going to go in with the turquoise again over the yellow just to get a little bit more colour there, a little bit more sort of greeny colour, I hope. So we'll mix again with the little flat brush and get a little bit more of that going. And now I wanted to show you how to make the spatter patterns. This is really easy. I've got two brushes here. The larger your brush, the larger the pattern will be. So I'm just putting the ink very carefully onto the end of that brush, and then I'm going to use the end of another plastic brush just to tap it against. You can't possibly see it terribly well at this point, but I will keep going. It's a bit like playing the drums. You just tap. The closer you hold the brush to the paper, the larger they'll be, and obviously the harder you hit the brush, the larger it will be. And don't be surprised if you get some on your face as well. I have from time to time. So gentle tapping where we don't want too much, but it just breaks up any blank areas. And I'm going to let that dry now, and then I'll come back and remove the masking fluid. So these are two of the ways that you can remove masking fluid once your paint is dry. Just using a clean hand, just rub away at it until it lifts, and you can gently remove it with your fingers. Do be careful not to rip the paper though. This can happen a little bit sometimes depending on the paper. The other way is by using a product that's been designed to remove masking fluid, which is like a rubber sort of block, like a magic eraser, and it literally is a question of just rubbing it onto the masking fluid. It will pick it up and remove it for you, and it's a lot less likely to rip using that product, so I do tend to use that quite often. So we can see we've got a nice circle. We can see the white where the fluid was. I'm going to tidy these up a little bit. They're not quite as round as I would have liked. I think I got a bit carried away showing you the inks, so I will smarten those up, but the result is quite good. And here we have the final picture, and you can see those beautiful soft flowing colours and the detail that they give with the little bits of spatter. We've got some beautiful colours that have mixed together, some quite dramatic colours, and I hope that you've enjoyed seeing how to produce these and you'll have a go for yourself. Basically, keep using the water, keep pulling it out and softening those edges, and you will have some beautiful effects. Thank you for giving me the pleasure of your company, and I will look forward to seeing you again very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.